It's so funny what's happening with Diddy because this was inevitable.
It was just an escape for me. I was just young, like everybody in the industry and people in the world who experiment and do.
Imagine this. You're at an exclusive, invite-only event surrounded by the glittering elite of Hollywood, and it's not just any party. It's one of those parties. The ones you've heard rumors about, but never really knew what happened behind closed doors. We're talking about Scene Diddy Calm's infamous gatherings that go way beyond your average Lister bash. These weren't just champagne and music nights. They were something much darker and far more sinister. If you think the glitzy world of celebrities is all glamour, think again. The truth that's starting to unravel paints a chilling picture of manipulation, exploitation, and control.
Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
Now, let's set the stage. Diddy, a man who built an empire in the entertainment industry, was known for his lavish lifestyle. We've all seen the photos from his legendary white parties in the Hamptons, where celebrities dressed in white gathered for what appeared to be elegant, high society celebrations. But the reality, according to those who have dared to speak out, is that there was a whole different side to these get-togethers, one that was never intended for public eyes.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
It's been said that these parties were more than just wild nights. Rumor has it they were intricately planned, almost choreographed events designed to make the rich and famous feel like they were part of an inner circle, while actually pulling them into something far more twisted. Diddy allegedly used his influence to create an atmosphere where guests, many of whom were eager to climb the ranks of the music or film industry, felt pressured to play along, even when things got seriously uncomfortable. The whispers of what went on behind closed doors have been floating around for years, but only recently have we started to hear from those who claim to have witnessed or even been victims of what really took place.
Y'all saw it posted yesterday all over our social media pages. Cassie filed a lawsuit in New York City against Diddy.
Yikes.
She's claiming she was stuck in a decade-long cycle of abuse.
According to reports, Diddy would host these events in the most exclusive venues across New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. Hotels turned a blind eye. Entire floors would be rented out, and it's claimed that staff were given hush money to keep quiet about the things they saw. These weren't just your typical Hollywood parties where guests drank cocktails and danced into the early hours. People who were there say that Diddy had a particular way of ensuring that everyone felt like they were in too deep to back out. This wasn't just a party, it was a game of control, and Diddy knew how to play it.
Special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
There are accounts that suggest Diddy had hidden cameras placed throughout these events, secretly recording what was going on. Why? Some speculate it was a way to maintain power over people, footage that could be used for leverage later, ensuring that those who attended these gatherings would stay loyal or, at the very least, keep their mouths shut. And it's not just nameless partygoers we're talking about here. Big names in the industry, people you would recognize instantly, were allegedly caught up in these manipulative schemes. Take Cuba Gooding Jr., for example. His name has been mentioned more than once in connection to these parties. Was he just a guest, or did he know more than he let on? We may never know, but the fact that such high-profile figures were around these events makes the story even more compelling.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
Now, it's not just the rumors of secret recordings that make these parties stand out. It's also what was allegedly happening while the cameras were rolling. Several individuals have come forward, describing an environment where manipulation was the name of the game. Some claim that once they arrived, they felt trapped, as if they couldn't leave without facing repercussions. There are stories about how the guests were pressured into situations they weren't comfortable with, all under the guise of it being part of the exclusive experience. Think about it, people who were looking for a way to break into the industry, hoping that mingling with someone as powerful as Diddy would be their golden ticket, found themselves in over their heads. There were promises of connections, deals, and career opportunities that never materialized, leaving some feeling used and discarded.
Controlled every aspect of her life. He is accused of frequently beating her and would hide her in hotel rooms for days until the bruising and signs of abuse were gone.
It's not hard to see how such an atmosphere could lead to long-term consequences for those involved. After all, who would dare speak out against one of the most powerful men in music, especially when they feared being blacklisted from the industry entirely? But now, after years of silence, people are finally starting to tell their stories, and what's emerging is a disturbing pattern of exploitation. These parties weren't just casual, wild nights. They were calculated and manipulative, designed to trap people in situations they couldn't easily escape.
What is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released.
But here's where things get even more interesting. Diddy's influence didn't just stop with the people at these parties. His reach extended far beyond, into the very institutions that enabled his behavior. Banks, hotels, even some corporate partners are all being scrutinized now for their role in what has become one of the most talked about scandals in recent memory. It's said that some of the most high-end hotels in New York and Los Angeles were complicit in allowing these events to happen on their premises. Did they know what was really going on behind closed doors? Maybe. But even if they didn't, they surely had to notice when an entire floor was booked out and guests came and went at all hours of the night. The fact that these institutions are now under investigation suggests that there's more to the story than meets the eye.
With very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout his home.
Take the case of Tony Busby, the attorney who's spearheading the efforts to bring justice to Diddy's alleged victims. He's not just targeting Diddy. He's made it clear that anyone who had a hand in enabling this behavior will face consequences. In a recent statement, Busby hinted that a firestorm is coming, and when the full list of names and institutions involved is revealed, it could send shockwaves through not just Hollywood, but the entire entertainment industry. He's already filed lawsuits that are shaking things up, and as more details come to light, it's becoming clear that Diddy's parties were just the tip of the iceberg.
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed, right?
What's especially alarming is the scale of these allegations. We're not talking about a handful of events. Reports suggest that these gatherings were happening for years, and some of the most exclusive venues in major cities were essentially complicit in allowing them to continue. How could this go on for so long without anyone stepping in? The answer, it seems, is money. Diddy's empire was vast, and his connections were even more extensive. There's a reason why these events were so well hidden. Diddy allegedly used his financial power to keep people quiet. Hotels turned a blind eye because they didn't want to lose his business. Corporate partners stayed silent because they didn't want to jeopardize lucrative deals.
It has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
But now, the walls are starting to close in. More people are coming forward, and with each new allegation, the picture of Diddy's secret world becomes clearer. Tony Busby's investigation has already uncovered a web of complicity that spans decades, and it seems like only a matter of time before the full scope of this scandal is revealed. What's especially troubling is that Diddy wasn't working alone. He had a network of enablers, people who saw what was happening but chose to stay silent, either because they were benefiting financially or because they feared retaliation.
I had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
What's truly at stake here isn't just Diddy's career. Sure, he's facing some serious allegations that could potentially ruin him, but the bigger issue is what this scandal represents for the entertainment industry as a whole. We're talking about a culture of silence that has allowed powerful men to exploit others for years, with little to no consequences. If Diddy's case blows up the way some are expecting, it could force a major reckoning within Hollywood and beyond. We've seen similar stories before, with other high-profile figures facing allegations, but this one feels different. The scale, the names involved, the sheer number of people who are now coming forward, it's all adding up to something that could change the industry forever.
Rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
And here's the kicker. This might just be the beginning. As Tony Busby continues to dig deeper, there's a growing sense that more names will be revealed and more lawsuits will be filed. Some sources have hinted that Diddy's circle includes not just musicians, but also major players in the business and political worlds. Could it be that Diddy's downfall will bring others down with him? If even half of what's being alleged turns out to be true, we're looking at a scandal that could rival anything we've seen before in Hollywood. And the consequences for those involved, both directly and indirectly, could be devastating. As the investigation continues, all eyes are on Diddy and his team. Will he fight the allegations, or will he eventually be forced to come clean? And what about the people who were part of his inner circle? Will they stay loyal, or will they start to distance themselves as the pressure mounts? One thing is clear, This story is far from over, and the ripple effects are just beginning.
In that video, totally eviscerated his credibility.
But the question everyone is asking now is, how deep does this go? We know Diddy's parties were notorious, but if the reports are to be believed, the true scale of what happened at these events is only now starting to come to light. We're talking about a web of manipulation that stretches far beyond one man's actions. Could it be that some of Hollywood's biggest names were either involved or, at the very least, aware of what was going on?
Him go from his independence to then becoming Puff Daddy, you know what I'm saying? And I got a front row seat looking at that.
As we transition into the next phase of this unfolding scandal, the focus will inevitably shift from Diddy to those who were around him, the celebrities, the business partners, the institutions that enabled him to build his empire. And that brings us to the next big question. How many other stars could be caught in the crossfire as this investigation continues to unravel?
That clearly there is a criminal investigation underway and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
This is where things start to get really interesting, because if Diddy's case sets a precedent, it could mark the beginning of a much larger reckoning within the entertainment industry. Could the same culture that protected Diddy for so long be about to implode, taking down more than just one man in the process? And as more details emerged, will we finally see the cracks in Hollywood's seemingly untouchable facade? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and the fallout could be bigger than anyone ever imagined.
You see, there's no artist, let me be clear, there's no artist in this industry that's doing major numbers with these platforms that haven't sold their soul.
So here's where things get even more complicated. As if seeing Diddy Combs' troubles weren't enough, what if we told you that this scandal could stretch far beyond the man himself? You see, when someone as powerful as Diddy is at the center of an investigation like this, it's rarely just about one person. The truth is, Diddy didn't exist in a vacuum. He was part of a much larger web of connections that ties together some of the biggest names in entertainment. We're talking A-listers, household names who, if you were to walk into a room, you'd recognize them instantly. The question is, how many of these celebrities knew about what was happening? And more importantly, how many of them were involved either directly or indirectly? There's been a lot of speculation around just how many famous faces could get caught up in this mess. Names like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Justin Bieber, and even fashion icons like Naomi Campbell have been thrown into the conversation. These aren't just random celebrities either. They're people who have been seen rubbing shoulders with Diddy at some of his most exclusive parties. We all know the entertainment industry is tight-knit, with stars often attending the same events, sharing the same circles. But what happens when those circles get tainted with scandals like this one?
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
Let's start with one of the biggest names that has popped up in this narrative, Jay-Z. Jay and Diddy have a history that goes way back. They've shared business ventures, collaborated on music, and been photographed together at some of the most high-profile events in the world. But here's where things get tricky. Rumors have been swirling for years that their relationship has soured, especially as Diddy's legal troubles began to unfold. Could it be that Jay-Z knew more about what was happening at Diddy's infamous parties than he's letting on? Or is he just another celebrity caught in the crossfire of a scandal that's spiraling out of control?
After that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past.
One thing's for sure, Jay-Z's silence on the matter hasn't gone unnoticed. The entertainment world is abuzz with speculation, and some are even wondering if he'll be called to testify. Just imagine the impact that could have. A star of Jay-Z's magnitude sitting in a courtroom being asked to speak about what he knew, or worse, what he saw. It's almost unthinkable, but at the same time, it's the kind of thing that could turn this scandal into something even bigger. And if Jay-Z is dragged into this, you can bet that other major players will follow. Now, let's not forget about Beyonce. She's arguably one of the most private and controlled celebrities out there, but even she's not immune to the rumors. After all, she's been at plenty of events where Diddy was the host, and her connection to Jay-Z makes her name pop up in conversations about what might happen next. Although there's no direct evidence linking her to any of the more unsavory details of Diddy's gatherings, the mere fact that she's part of this circle has people talking. It's not just about what you've done, it's about who you're associated with. And in an industry as scrutinized as Hollywood, even being in the same room as someone under fire can cause reputational damage.
That's the one. I think that we just got caught up. I think we all got caught up in a moment. We was talking about it and having secret meetings.
But it's not just music icons like Jay-Z and Beyonce who could find themselves in the hot seat. Justin Bieber, a former protege of Diddy's, has also been mentioned in the fallout of these allegations. There was a time when Bieber and Diddy were inseparable, with the younger star looking up to Diddy as a mentor. They were seen together at countless parties and events, with Diddy even claiming at one point that he had custody of Bieber. It's an odd statement in hindsight, especially given the allegations that have come to light about Diddy's behavior behind the scenes.
ruining lives. And now they've indoctrinated these kids into thinking that this is the way because this is what they know.
Bieber, like Beyonce, has maintained his distance from the scandal so far. But people are asking questions. How much did he know about the darker side of these parties? Was he just an innocent bystander caught up in Diddy's orbit? Or is there more to the story that we haven't heard yet? Some sources say that Bieber was just too young and naive at the time to fully understand what was happening around him. But as the investigation continues, the truth may come out. And if it turns out that Bieber was more involved than anyone realized, it could have major repercussions for his career, which has already had its fair share of ups and downs. Now, Naomi Campbell is another name that's been floating around in connection with Diddy's controversial parties. Campbell has long been a fixture in high society, and her presence at some of Daddy's most exclusive gatherings has raised eyebrows. Known for her glamorous lifestyle and high-profile friendships, Naomi has managed to stay relatively untouched by scandal until now. Some reports suggest that she attended more than one of Diddy's infamous parties, and while there's no direct accusation against her, the fact that she was there could be enough to drag her into the fray. It's the classic case of guilt by association, and in an industry where reputation is everything, even a whisper of involvement can be damaging.
And I remember, like, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but like, I felt like I was in the presence of his monster inside.
But let's take a step back for a moment and talk about the bigger picture here. This isn't just about a few celebrities who may or may not have been at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is about the culture of silence that has existed in Hollywood for decades. A culture where people see things, hear things, and turn a blind eye because speaking out could mean the end of their careers. It's no secret that the entertainment industry has its dark corners, but what's happening with Diddy's case could blow the lid off an entire system of complicity and cover-ups.
Of course. There's layers upon layers. When you get into these fucking conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers.
Think about it. How many times have we heard stories like this before? Powerful men in entertainment using their influence to get what they want, while those around them stay quiet because they're afraid of losing everything they've worked for. We saw it with Jeffrey Epstein, with Harvey Weinstein, and now it looks like we're seeing it again with Diddy. The pattern is eerily similar, and that's what makes this case so significant. If Diddy goes down, he might not go down alone. He could take a lot of people with him, and that's exactly what has Hollywood on edge right now.
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
People like Tony Busby, the attorney leading the charge against Diddy, have made it clear that this isn't just about one man. It's about everyone who enabled him. In a recent press conference, Busby hinted that more lawsuits are on the way, and some of them could target individuals who have stayed silent for too long. We're not just going after Diddy, Busby said. We're going after everyone who knew, who helped, and who profited from this. And here's where it gets even more interesting. There are rumors, unconfirmed but persistent, that some of Hollywood's biggest names are quietly settling lawsuits behind the scenes to avoid being publicly dragged into the scandal. Could it be that some of the stars we know and love are paying to keep their names out of the headlines? It wouldn't be the first time we've seen something like this happen, and if the rumors are true, it suggests that this scandal could be even bigger than anyone realizes.
The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
The reality is, as this case unfolds, it's not just Diddy's future that's at stake. It's the future of everyone who's ever been associated with him. And the list of names is long. We're talking about a list of musicians, actors, fashion icons, and even business moguls who have all been part of Diddy's world at one time or another. The question now is, how many of them will be caught up in the fallout?
He allegedly has done things and allegedly participated in a lot of things that the public would not be happy to know.
If this case goes to trial, the revelations could be explosive. We've already seen hints that Diddy's defense might involve pointing fingers at others in the industry. Could this be his way of deflecting blame, or is there really a larger conspiracy at play here? Either way, it's clear that this isn't just about Diddy's parties. It's about an entire ecosystem of power and control in Hollywood. And if that ecosystem starts to crumble, who knows what or who will be exposed. But here's where things get really intense. Some sources are suggesting that Diddy might actually try to cut a deal with prosecutors. What would that look like? Well, if Diddy agrees to cooperate, it could mean throwing some of his high-profile friends under the bus in exchange for a lighter sentence. It's a move we've seen before in cases like this, and it would make sense, especially if Diddy feels like he's running out of options. After all, when you're facing the possibility of losing everything, sometimes the only way out is to take others down with you.
And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise.
So, what do you think? Will Diddy's downfall take other big names with him? And how deep do you think this web of silence goes in Hollywood? Let us know in the comments below. The truth might just be wilder than we ever imagined. See you next time.